A very warm welcome to you all. Welcome to the Buddhist Society. This is the basic meditation class, and my name's Richard, and I'm effectively standing in for Colin, and I'll be leading again next week as Colin is away. And in this class, we hope to just reintroduce people or introduce people to meditation and extend people's practice in meditation if you're already an experienced meditator. So a very warm welcome to you all, and thanks for joining this online Sangha. So let's begin in our usual way of just sitting reasonably upright, reasonably comfortable, and just in a way that supports you, in a way that you can hold reasonably easily for about half an hour or so without getting too uncomfortable. And also the other thing to mention, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, is the sitting position needs to have some way of keeping you awake and alert. So it's got to be reasonably upright. So a straight back, but not rigidly straight, and relax. Now, generally, most teachers of meditation will take you through a body scan, just placing your attention on different parts of the body, learning just to be with them. So we'll do that, but in a slightly different way to the usual format. We'll work with all of the senses. But let's start with the sense of touch. And I invite you now just to bring your attention down from your head, where we spend a lot of our time, into your feet. So your feet on the floor, or if you're sitting cross-legged on the floor, it'll be your ankles and your shins and maybe your knees, just the points of contact with the floor. So just quite consciously allow your attention to drop. And as you're allowing your attention to drop, allow yourself to slow down. Quite consciously, whatever else you've been doing today, just move into a slower gear. And just know that for the rest of this session, no one's going to grade you or assess you or judge you or examine you. There's nothing to be achieved. There's no targets to be reached. There's no goals to be attained. It's just noticing and letting go. So the invitation now is just to notice the point of contact with the floor. And by notice, I really intend you to experience the sensation of the touch. Just that contact with the floor. What did it feel like? See if you can notice whether you're thinking or imagining those points of contact with the floor, or whether you're actually feeling them. And if you're doing a bit of both, that's fine. Just notice that. And then I invite you just to shift your attention to your sitting bones on the chair or the cushion. And in the same way, really feel the contact. Feel how they're supporting the weight of your torso. Feel the pressure. Feel the contact. And again, just notice if you're thinking about them or imagining them. And that's fine. It's quite normal, quite natural. But just notice that and just see if you can come into feeling. What's the sense? And now I invite you just to shift your attention upwards into your back and just feel the upright spine, perhaps the contact with the chair. Just feel how it's supporting the rest of your body. And again, notice if you're thinking or imagining it. And see if you can just nudge your attention just gently into the sensation of the back. And then I invite you to bring your attention into your neck and your head. And just see if you can align your neck and your head with your spine and your pelvis so that everything's in a nice upright column. And relax. And again, just get a sense of how your head and your neck feel. And now I invite you to get an overall sense of your body from the crown of your head to the soles of your feet, including your sitting bones and your back. Just notice the whole of your body. Sense the clothes on your skin surface and the air on your hands and your face. Feel the contact with the chair and the floor. Just have a sense of this body sitting in this room, on this chair, on this seat, on this cushion right now. And see if you can relax as you notice, as you bring your attention into the foreground. Just notice and relax. And then I invite you to bring your attention into your mouth. Just feel your tongue perhaps touching your teeth or resting. Feel the wetness of your saliva. And then notice if you can taste anything. Perhaps the tea or coffee you drank earlier, or perhaps nothing. What's the taste in your mouth right now? And again, just notice if you have a visual image of the inside of your mouth. And see if you can just nudge your attention into sensing the taste in your mouth. What's the taste of nothing? And now I invite you to bring your attention into your nose. And just notice the flow of the air across the rim of your nostrils on the in-breath and the out-breath. Perhaps slightly cool on the in-breath and slightly warm on the out-breath. And just notice if you can smell anything. Have you lit any incense in your room? Do you have some flowers? Or perhaps there's the smell of nothing. What's the sense of smell for you right now? And then I invite you to bring your attention to your eyes. And just through your closed eyelids, just notice the light that's still entering your visual field through your closed eyelids. Or if you're looking down at the carpet in front of you or the floor in front of you, just notice the light, the images that are in your eyes right now. What's the sense of sight for you right now? And just notice if you have visual images coming from your mind also in your visual field. And see if you can distinguish between the light from the room you're in and those images from your mind. And then I invite you to bring your attention to your ears. You just notice what sounds they may be arising. What are you receiving in your ears? See if you can notice and receive whatever sounds arise in your field of consciousness without getting entangled with them. So just for the next few moments, just listen. And now I invite you to bring your attention back to the whole of your physical body, from the crown of your head to the soles of your feet, noticing your sitting bones on the chair or the cushion. Notice the sensation of the clothes on your skin surface and the air on your hands and your face. So please feel free to stretch and move and perhaps take a sip of water and relax your posture. And if you've got uncomfortable, please get comfortable again. So thank you very much for your attention and for sharing in that meditation using the senses. For those of you that joined slightly after the beginning of the meditation, we worked with the sense of touch, just noticing the sensations in the body. We worked with the sense of taste, just noticing the sensations in the mouth. We worked with the sense of smell, just noticing whatever scents, whatever smells there were in the room that we're in. We worked with the sense of sight. Even with closed eyes, we can notice what light there is coming into our field of vision through our closed eyelids. And we worked with the sense of hearing. What sounds were we hearing? And then we came back again and we noticed the body and the sense of touch. And that's where we finished. So just to emphasize, there are a number of ways of doing a body scan, and I know from many practitioners of meditation, sometimes we get bored with doing the same old thing over and over again, and working with the senses in this way brings us into the present moment with each sense, but it provides something different for the mind to actually work with. So you might want to try that at home sometimes. And you can just try one of them. Certainly just hearing. What are you hearing? What's going on for you in your auditory field at any one moment is quite a good one to work with if you're going to pick one. But it's really up to you. But the point is, with any of these places where we locate our attention, if you locate your attention in one of the senses, one part of the body, you are, by doing that, bringing yourself into the present moment. You can't feel the soles of your feet as they were 10 seconds ago or 10 seconds in the future. You can only feel them right now. And the same with anything you're hearing. You can remember what you are hearing a minute ago, or you can imagine what you're going to be hearing in a minute. But the actual direct experience of hearing is right now in this moment. And that's the point of these practices, is to bring our attention back into the present moment. In the teachings of mindfulness, as it's now taught in many fields, they've got what they call the 3 rings model. And the inner ring is direct experience. That's the actual sensation of touch, sight, sound, smell, hearing. The next ring is thinking about those experiences. So just thinking about the soles of one's feet and how they're feeling, rather than actually feeling them. And then the ring that's outside of that, the periphery of our consciousness, is thoughts about those experiences. And those are always located in the past or in the future. And very often we just daydream, we drift into imagining our summer holidays or fearing some frightful event that's going to occur in the future, or remembering something in the past. And those are thoughts about experiences that are not present right now. And with these meditation practices, where we locate our attention in different parts of the body or in different senses, what we're doing is we're bringing our into the center, into the foreground of our attention, the direct experience. And that's really useful and important. And we spend so much of our time lost in thoughts. You think how many thoughts do you have in a day, from waking to when you go to sleep? It's thousands, absolutely thousands. They did some experiment where they attached electrodes to various people's heads and sort of detected the electrical charges that denoted thoughts and the brainwave patterns. And they found that on average, people had something around 40,000 thoughts a day. That's huge. And they just go from one to the other, they proliferate. And in the Buddhist literature from thousands of years ago, you'll find them referred to as monkey mind or busy mind or dispersed mind. And what we're doing in these practices is we're just bringing that dispersed mind down into some sort of home where we are right now. Just to mention the passing of the death of Thich Nhat Hanh, who died on the 22nd of January. Many of you will have some of his books on your bookshelves, and many of you will have located his teachings on YouTube. And just to say, I want to dedicate both this session and next week when I'm here again, and that session to his memory and his teachings. He was a really fine teacher, and if you haven't come across his teachings, I really do recommend that you dip into them. And he is sometimes referred to as the father of mindfulness. He wrote a seminal work in the 1970s called The Miracle of Mindfulness, and it was from that the mindfulness movement in the West took off, and it became secularized. It was taken out of the Buddhist context, but the essential teachings are still there, even in a very de-Buddhist way. They're still there, and it does a power of good in the world. Just to give you a quote from Thich Nhat Hanh, he says in one of his books, if your mind is at peace, you will be happy regardless of outer circumstances. If your mind is disturbed, you will be unhappy regardless of outer circumstances. That's quite an interesting one, isn't it? Because so many of us, by habit, we look to rearrange the outside world to provide us with inner peace. And of course, many of us that attend meditation classes and have come to Buddhist practice actually recognize at some level that doesn't quite work. It's the inside that we have to reorganize and rearrange and pay attention to in order to be truly at peace. So that's just really to place some of these teachings in context. One of the other things that Thich Nhat Hanh said was, this is a beautiful teaching. Sometimes, he said, I've got it here, sometimes our smile is caused by our inner joy, but sometimes our inner joy is caused by our smile. So he was recognizing this essential connection between how our attitude really and how we are inside. And we have a choice over our attitudes, and if we choose to smile, then eventually it feeds into our inner condition. The next practice I wanted to do with you, which we'll come to in a minute, is to work with the breath. And of course, Thich Nhat Hanh was it was a very central focus of his teachings, was the miracle of mindfulness. And a lot of that was to do with working with the breath and using the breath as an anchor for our attention. Before we do that, I want to just introduce something that I'm always talking about when I attend these sessions. That is that we have these anchors for our attention, like breath, sense of touch, sense of taste, sense of smell, whatever it is, sense of hearing. These anchor our attention. We choose to place something in the foreground of our attention. And by doing that, we anchor our mind, we gather together that dispersed mind. We sort of reassemble it, as it were, and this is essentially mindfulness practice. But one of the things I wanted to really emphasize to you was the importance of making friends with yourself, with this being that is sitting in the room on the cushion that you're sitting on, really treating this being well. So many of us have come through conditioning and backgrounds and experiences that cause us to beat ourselves up, to be harsh with ourselves. And we do this in everyday life. And when we come to meditate, we continue to do it. So it goes, my mind is wandering, I can't be a very good meditator, I'm not doing it as well as I should, etc., etc. And we find ourselves criticizing ourselves, being quite tough with ourselves, and not recognizing that we're just human. We've just got a mind. It's a busy, wandering, imaginative, creative mind. We're just humans. And we're trying to unravel a lifetime of habit here, and it doesn't happen overnight. So if you can introduce into your practice just a way of being with yourself that really is friendly, compassionate, has kindness sewn into it, this will really help your practice. And what I mean by this is that when we find that we're sitting in meditation and that we have a busy mind and our mind is wandering and we've the anchor of our meditation we've lost, when we find that happens, if we can just, with kindness, just shrug our shoulders and say, oh, of course, I'm a human, I have a busy mind, and that's okay. I haven't made a mistake, and we just bring the mind back, gently coaxing it back with kindness and compassion to our chosen anchor. If we can learn to do that, and sometimes it takes a long time to learn this, because we have to unlearn all those self-critical other habits that have been with us for so many years. And if we can unlearn those over time, the whole of our practice takes on a different dimension. And I would just encourage you to see if you can experiment a bit with this and just embrace every mind movement with compassion and love and care and understanding. This is what provides the forward movement of meditation practice. If we try too hard and if we berate ourselves in practice, it tends to create a rigid mind. It tends to accentuate all these old habits that actually we're sitting here mindfully trying to unlearn. So if we can just be gentle with ourselves and kind to ourselves, it goes a long way. And I'll be talking more about this next week. So perhaps with a little smile on your face, I invite you now to sit again in your meditation position, just reasonably upright. Make sure you're comfortable. These practices are designed to take us beyond suffering, not to increase suffering, so please get comfortable. And then we'll start again in the same way that we did at the beginning of the session. Just allow your attention to drop drop into the soles of your feet, perhaps the points of contact with the floor. Whatever else you've been doing today, just see if you can park it, allow it to drop away, and just be with the direct sensation of these points of contact with the floor. And if you find yourself with an image of the soles of your feet or your shins or your ankles, that's fine. Just notice that. And just see if you can just shift the sensation of the touch of the floor into the foreground of your consciousness. And then just perhaps notice your sitting bones on the chair or the cushion. And then a reasonably straight but relaxed back. And then I invite you to get an overall sense of your body from the crown of your head to the soles of your feet. Just noticing the clothes on your skin surface, the touch of your clothes, and the sensation of the air on your hands and your face. And then when you're ready, I invite you just to notice the movement in your body, the movement caused by your breath. So where does it occur most vividly for you? In the chest, in the abdomen, the rim of the nostrils, or perhaps an overall sense of movement on the in and the out breath. So the invitation is to keep locating your attention with the movement caused by the breath. And if your mind wanders, which it will, just treat that with kindness. You haven't made a mistake. Just notice it with compassion and understanding, and then relocate your attention with the breath. So if you're getting lost, just notice where you are, and just gently, with kindness and compassion, relocate your attention with the movement caused by the breath. So just noticing where you are now, where have you drifted to, and just bring kindness and compassion to this being sitting where you're sitting. Just gently relocate your attention in that rhythmic, peaceful movement of the breath. So please feel free to stretch and move and readjust your posture. Take a sip of water. Get comfortable again if you've become uncomfortable. And just notice how you feel now. As Ajahn Subhaddo is always saying to this class, don't stop meditating just because you're not in a formal sit. Just keep noticing. How are you right now? How is your body? How is your mind? So well done. I really appreciate the attention and the seriousness with which you engaged with that. Just to say a few words about practice. If you're new to practice, and I know many of you are not new to practice, many of you have been at it for quite a few years, but if you are new to practice and you're looking to establish a sort of a regular rhythm in your life, the usual advice is just start with 5 to 10 minutes a day. But the important thing is to do it every day. So if you can find one time of day where you know that you will have that space in that time, and then just stick to it, and that becomes a sort of go-to place at that time of day, every day. And see if you can do that for a week, just every day for a week, 5 to 10 minutes, and then gradually extend it. So that's the usual sort of way of beginning if you're completely new to practice. It's often quite a difficult one to establish a routine at first. But one of the reasons we meditate every day is because the neuroscientists tell us that we are establishing in meditation different pathways in our brains. So many of us have had a whole lifetime of conditioning and habits of thought that go in quite unhelpful directions. Just as I was talking about earlier, these very critical aspects of mind that so many of us Westerners have, where we're quite judgmental, we're quite harsh with ourselves, we're used to doing that, and for many of us, it's almost a lifelong habit. And to unravel that, we need to repeatedly find a different pathway in the brain so that becomes established. And the neuroscientists tell us this takes repetition. So with the practice that we were doing just then of anchoring our attention in the breath, the invitation was, when your mind wanders, you just notice that and you relocate your attention in the direct sensation of the breath. So what you're doing there is a number of things, but one of the things is you're letting go of whatever it was that you were engaged in that wasn't the breath, and relocating your attention in the present moment. And over a period of time, repeatedly doing that, we establish a way of just letting go of whatever it is, unpeaceful thoughts, disturbed thoughts. They're just relocating in the present moment. And the neuroscientists, the research they're doing now, it's absolutely burgeoning. The amount of research that's being done now compared to, say, just 10, 15 years ago. But the neuroscientists tell us that repeated mind movements like that establish different pathways in the brain. And learning to be in the present is a really important part of that. And this relates back directly to the teachings of Thich Nhat Hanh. It was very encouraging about just learning to be present in the present moment. I spent some weeks at Plum Village in the midst of their winter retreat, several years. And one of the things they do at Plum Village was they ring the bell at random points during the day. And the invitation is whatever you're doing, You might be on a working meditation, you might be in the middle of a meal, you might be just out for a walk. Whatever you're doing, you stop and you wait until the sound of the bell. They had this huge big bell in the centre of Plum Village, and when they rang it, it just sort of sounded right throughout the entire hamlet, and wherever you were, you could hear it. And you would just stop. Everyone just stopped whatever they were doing until the sound of the bell died away. And that often took a minute and a half, 2 minutes. And you would, even if you were mid-sentence with someone, you would stop mid-sentence and just wait until the sound had gone away. And one of the things that did was it just brought you into the present moment. All you were required to do in that moment was to let go of whatever it was you were doing and just be with the sound of the bell. It was beautiful, a wonderful practice. And yes, we are habitually hijacked by thoughts that are not in the present. And most of the unpeaceful states of mind that we get into are either about the past or the future. They're very rarely about what's going on right now. So this is one way of moving our minds into a more peaceful mode, a more peaceful gear. We've got about 10 minutes left this evening. If you would like to ask a question, either by unmuting or by putting it in the chat, please, you're welcome to do so. I will talk a little bit whilst anyone does that. Some of the questions that are often asked are of the nature of, I can't make my mind go blank when I'm meditating. This is a frequent one, or questions like that. It often takes there are a variety of forms of that question. They go like, I couldn't get rid of the thoughts. I couldn't make my mind go blank. I can't make my mind be empty. And of course, these are sorts of questions that we have when we first arrive at practice. And of course, one of the messages I think that you'll be getting both from Colin and Ajahn Subhaddo and myself in this class is it's not about eliminating all thoughts, making your mind go blank, having nothing in your mind. This is about learning to let go, learning to notice those thoughts and come back to the present. And the practice isn't about getting rid of anything. It's about noticing. And then the letting go, the letting be, if you like, happens all of its own. And my emphasis is what aids that process of letting go, what really oils the wheels of the momentum of practice, is if you can find a way of coming into a compassionate, understanding space with yourself. We all want to reduce suffering in the world. Well, the one place where you can start to do it right now is with this being right here, sitting on this cushion, this chair, in this room. Okay, I've got something in the chat. Okay, thank you for the question. It's when I bring awareness to the senses and find inner stillness in the mind, where do I go from here? Is there anywhere else to go? Do I just be with the awareness? Well, thank you very much. That's a great question. So I'll read it again. When I bring awareness to the senses and find inner stillness in the mind, where do I go from here? Is there anywhere else to go? Do I just be with the awareness? And I think you've answered the question yourself. I think most teachers of meditation, certainly in the traditions that I've followed and I've worked with would say absolutely that. There is nowhere else to go. Where could there be anywhere else to go? The awareness that you're pointing to, that's the place. That's the place of peace. That's the place, this inner stillness. I would add a word of caution there, is if you find that place and the next sit you can't find it, don't strive, don't try too hard to recreate it. Notice that you've had it. Notice that you have the capacity. You have that awareness inside you. It is there somewhere. But yes, I think you've asked a very good question. It's, if you touch into a place that is peaceful, that has a quality of stillness, then just notice that. Just be with it. That's the present moment. That's the place where suffering ceases. Thank you for the question. That's a beautiful question. There's another question here. Can you please repeat the first Thich Nhat Hanh quote, as my signal was very patchy? Yes, also. I said, the question is also, I thought you said feel the hair on our face and hands. No, feel the air. You're sitting in a room with air, oxygen, hydrogen, all the elements, and there will be some sensation of air on your hands and your face. So when you're feeling the whole body, the perimeter, the periphery of your body, you feel the clothes on your skin surface, and you feel the air on your hands and your face, because they don't have clothes on them. So sorry for that if you didn't receive the message clearly on that one. Okay, the first quote that I gave from Thich Nhat Hanh, yes. If your mind is at peace, you will be happy regardless of outer circumstances. If your mind is disturbed, you will be unhappy regardless of outer circumstances. So this is a really useful pointer, because, at some level we probably, we get this intellectually, is that we can't become happy by reorganizing the outer world. I mean, most people that have arrived at a meditation class, certainly in the Buddhist tradition, have realized that at some level, is that happiness is not created by outside circumstances. We get that intellectually. That's why we come to meditate. We know that there's something inner that we need to do here. There's some inner work. And Thich Nhat Hanh is pointing very directly to that. Now, it's one thing knowing this at a head level with our thinking intellectual mind, and that's fine. That's a really good starting place. But to really know it, to really touch into that, this is where we come back to direct experience. Sitting in practice, sitting in meditation, noticing, even if you're not in meditation, you're just aware and noticing the whole day. This inner sense of knowing, this is where happiness arises. This is where happiness is created. It's not out there. Yeah, I know, and we can get into all sorts of debates about, yes, you've got to have a certain level of shelter, warmth, clothing, conditions, food, etc. All of that is true. And basic components of happiness are in here. That's why we come to meditate, because at some level we have all clocked us. We get it. The inner work is the important bit here. And meditation, this learning repeatedly to notice and let go, or notice and let be, this is the work. This is what leads us to a different space. Great question. So thank you for pointing me again to the Thich Nhat Hanh teachings. And if you do get a chance on to find one of his books on your bookshelf, unread, or get one of the books, I think the Buddhist Society will have them on sale in the library when they're open again. But if you do find a place to read some of his works, they really are worth reading. And the classic work is The Miracle of Mindfulness, published in 1975. So it's been around for quite a while, but it really is a classic work. And if you are looking to sort of further your practice and deepen it, it's a good place to start. Okay, I see we're coming up to 8 o'clock. So thank you all very much for attending and for the seriousness and devotion with which you give yourself to this practice. I really appreciate it, and thank you for joining this online Sangha. I'm going to finish tonight just by reading closing homage. And I wish you well, and I will see you again next week. So, the Lord, the perfectly enlightened and blessed one, I render homage to the Buddha, the Blessed One. The teachings so completely explained by him, I bow to the Dharma. The Blessed One's disciples who have practiced well, I bow to the Sangha. Go well.